Yeah, my reason is not for anything else, but I thought if I would introduce myself, that would be a better introduction. Although they are very ancient, they're nearly 50-year-old, half a century old. The reason why I picked them up is that some of the exercises which I've given then, they're still being carried on. So that is good or bad, that is for debating. But either they have a classical quality about them, so they have so good, they have lived so many years, or we are not able to kind of go out and beyond them. And this is something which I think all design educators have to think very seriously about. Yeah. Are we still doing Edmund Hoffman graphic design composition exercises? Are we still doing Bauhaus product designs? And are we still doing Danish furniture? Are we still doing something which we are doing half century ago? Because the world has changed meanwhile very, very rapidly, and so many changes have come place. Either we are not able to attend to them, or we are kind of not not looking at them at all. That brings me to another thing. Why I'm starting this is, in the audience profile, I found that there are two kinds of people. And this is the vast difference between them. Some of them are like Amit, who is sitting there, etc. They're designers, design educators themselves with so many years of experience. That is one group, which is also attending. I don't want to waste that time. But there is also another group who are new to design at all. They don't even know what design is. They don't know the difference between fashion design and product design. That kind of. So I thought, with your permission, I have divided my today's interaction with you in two ways. First, I will tell things which are for designers who are sitting there, who are almost like me. So this is addressing for the design community as such, because they have come with an expectation to hear from me, but I have to kind of tell them some of my concerns. So that will be 2-3 of them because these webinars are not today, they're going to be next few weeks. So they can again attend, and then I will be telling something different every time. I don't want to repeat myself. So today I will take up 2-3 things. The first thing I want to pick up is, of course, we can't ignore the COVID-19 or the coronavirus thing, which is going all over. What happened was very interesting. I was not even in town, at my Sashi Institute. I was out of station, but suddenly on 16th March, the whole thing has kind of started. And the colleges and the schools and everything is closed. But what happened was immediately all the progressive institutions have started getting onto Zoom and right now what we are doing, getting onto online education. We also did. But to me, we have done it as an emergency, as a kind of thing that you have to do. There is no other way but to do it. But what has done is, unfortunately, because of the non-preparation, what we have done is we have taken this 4 walls education onto the cloud, onto the internet. This is just the 4 walls education. We are giving it to all people. It reminds me of when cinema started in the world first time. When film has come in, what they used to do is, earlier we had dramas. So what they used to do is, say there is Harishchandra drama is going on. The camera will be planted there and the mic will be planted there, and it is just a drama. That is not using actually the potential of movie camera, potential of cinema really well. Now what we have done after COVID is, we are exactly doing it. We are not exploring the possibilities of digital space. Cyberspace is not at all, explored. We just ignored it and just put the camera into the four walls of the institute. I think this is where we fail, but I'm not kind of criticizing anyone because this is a kind of emergency. Yeah, you don't even there is a fire and you are leaving your house. You will sit under anything which you call it a shelter. It won't be house. But I think this is something for all of us to know that the digital space is totally, the technology is totally different. It has got its tremendous possibilities, and and it has got its own limitations and all that. But putting the classroom, four-wall classroom education into that space is actually, underutilizing it, probably not utilizing it properly. That is one thing I would like to leave for you people to think about. The other one I want to take it up is design has moved from when I started some barely half a century ago, when I started design, to today. The world has changed drastically. Yeah, in so many ways, socially, culturally, technologically, in so many ways. But so design also has to change. Design has changed too, from its beginnings with its concern with beauty and aesthetics. It has moved to a lot other. I won't go into that at all. But what I say is basically, from design is a kind of in between production and the end user. This is a mediator, a beautiful, very beautiful responsibility of how to make this cold production kind of reality to users who are full of emotions and they're live human beings. If I can use this word, it is a kind of dreams. Users have dreams. The designer has to interpret the dreams into a reality, which makes the dream come true. Yeah, yesterday B.V. Doshi was telling something like that. It is like that, whether you are a designer or architect, you will do that. An example we all know is Henry Ford. Before the car has been brought onto the roads, they made a survey and asked people, do you like a car? So people said, what is a car? And all that they know is we want something better than the buggy. Better than the buggy we have so far. Because that's what. So when Henry Ford introduced car, they don't even know. So the dreams which the people have, they themselves don't know what these dreams are. So designers' role in that sense becomes very, very beautiful, in the sense the dreams which they themselves don't know, you have to dream for them and interpret them and give it to them. Yeah, this is all great architects and great designers do. And I think that's very beautiful responsibility you have, that has to be done also very responsibly, because dreams are not fantasies. These are dreams which come true. Many times they could be as deadly as today we know. I don't have to narrate them, but there are deadly dreams, nightmares. The other one is, I compare design with a film. However much you are out here and we have all those theories, but still one person never made a film. Similarly, one person never made a product. One person never made also a graphic. Why I'm saying this? Because many times we get into the, ego hassle of who is the designer, who is the designer, who is the designer. Designer is one important part. But he would have never done anything without others. All research people will know that no research is done without referring to earlier people's what they worked on. So they say a beautiful way it is said that all research is standing on the shoulders of the others who have done something before. Even for an author who thinks it's his own, is a alone, standalone job, it's not standalone job because he has to do a research and that research is based on others' work. So any design has to be that. A friend of mine has sent a beautiful African story to me. I would like to narrate it. One anthropologist has gone to an African tribal village, and there are a lot of children. He asked them to come stand there and said, "See, look at the tree, some 100 meters away. Under the tree, I have got a basket of sweets for you. Whoever runs faster and reach there first, you get the basket." So what happened was, which he never expected, nobody ran. All of them together, holding hands together, they all ran and got the whole basket and distributed among them. They call this, it seems, Ubuntu. In African language, Ubuntu means I am because we are. I think what a beautiful way to say. I am because we are. Because I can't enjoy a sweet when all others are sad. So this kind of realization is very humanistic realization. I think, design is very, humanistic, and we should realize that design is never a, alone job. Although we get the credit, like if the film is good, the director takes the credit, but all others also equally are, responsible in that. The other day I was looking at, somebody sent, nowadays the best thing is people are sending so many forwards. One forward is how Mr. Abdul Kalam, our ex-president, he was talking there, and he says that, he narrates that when they have, sent one, spaceship which has failed, Mr. Satish Dhawan, at that time he was the chairman, he took the blame on himself. And next time afterwards, when they successfully landed, he said, Kalam, you go and address the press. This is what is leadership is. Not grabbing the credit, but, encouraging others and forgiving them when they've made a mistake and say, yeah, mistakes do happen, failures do happen. That kind of thing. This is, I think, this Ubuntu is a very beautiful thing that we also know that we have that. The other point I would like to take up today before I will open it to others. I have many other things, but we will take it up in the next few sessions. The other one is, once I was traveling to a seminar, an international seminar at IIT Bombay. IDC invited me, and I was traveling. A young, beautiful, and intelligent student has come to, receive me at the airport. And while going, we were talking, and she said how she was frustrated. She's a postgraduate student, and she said how she is frustrated. I said, why are you frustrated? Sir, design is useless. What do you mean design is useless? He said, sir, I will tell you. I am doing this typography exercise, and I have been sent to hospital signage to a hospital, their government hospital. And when I went there are people, there are not enough doctors, there are not enough nurses, there is not enough beds, so people are kind of lying down on the floor like a railway platform. and they don't have enough cooking facilities, so some people are cooking in the corner and all that. And I didn't have the guts to go and interview them or put my mic or put my camera in front of them and take pictures. I want to beautify it and have some beautiful signage. You see what she is telling, and I think that's very important for all of us, all designers. What is the relevance of design today? Is it just making things beautiful? That is how in the beginning it started. After the war, people wanted, not only cheap things. After the cheapness is, kind of satisfied, the money, people wanted to have better things, more good looking things. But today, the scenario is entirely different. What my answer to that is, design as a beautifying, profession has no relevance. We don't need that kind of profession anymore. At least in India and the countries like India, we don't need that. But what we do need is a design which is relevant to today's needs. Design is a problem solving. You see, there is another way of defining design is a problem solving process. And that problem solving process never be outdated, because as long as there are problems, it will keep on, attending to them. And particularly if the society, it's in the only, they say the only permanent thing is change. Change is the only one which never changes. So that means there is a change. If there is a change in society, if there is change in technology, if there is change in culture, if there is change in production methods, there is also design which attends to this change. You can't give the same medicine which you have given, 10 years ago. Nowadays, it is even lesser. The medicine which you have given last year, you can't now anymore because it's not anymore relevant. So that way, that kind of design as a problem solver, design as an opportunity finder, and design as a attender of changes in technology, society, and culture will always exist. It is the only thing is if the problem which the IIT student had kind of shown it to me is actually the whoever of the people who are directing her are not able to show her the right kind of design. Yeah, there is a, that is where I feel, I appeal to all my teachers who are there listening to me, that we should attend to a problem solver kind of design, addressing the change kind of design, and opportunity finding kind of design, and not just a design which will make things little prettier. Yeah. Prettiness should not be a kind of, it's not like a makeup you apply. Prettiness is very much necessary. I'm not degrading it. But prettiness should be that kind of prettiness which comes from within. And then you feel happy. If you put on a mask, if you put on a makeup, that will wear off. That will wear off. And you need one more makeup after a few hours. So that's not the kind of design which, we are looking for. We are looking for a design which would last, for it's a real kind of, it attends to the real needs, because they are real needs. One of the best things about India is that you will never fall short of problems. There will be always problems. Of course, in the world also there are problems, but in India we top, because everywhere you look at, there are problems. Today, crafts is a big thing which Ashok Chatterjee and Getaram and all these people are kind of trying to, how to attend it. Of course, migrant labor is another problem. There are problems, which were, how to maintain social distance, still get the things done. I don't have to mention it. If you go to a railway station or airport or anywhere you go and you just sit there, and problems will, hound you, they overwhelm you. Okay, I think we have spent enough time. Now I think it's time for me to, ask you if you want to ask me anything from the audience. If there are others who, if you don't follow what I'm saying, my apologies, because I'm looking at Amit and, others who I know they're designers. But if there are others who would like to uh, ask even a very basic questions at the cost of wasting others' time, I don't mind answering.
Good evening, sir. Sir,
Good
I am
evening.
Shreni Pal.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
What is the basic concept of design of any object or any product?
Yeah, the basic concept, as I explained in the beginning, it is to be a mediator between the production and the dreams of people. The dreams have to be understood, interpreted, and realized. That realization, that the as beautifully as you can do, you are that good as a designer. This is what have I answered you? See, design is basically making things better better than what they are. You see, when a thing is produced in the factory, it may be ugly, it may be it may have many other things, but somebody has to make it, more wanted, more desirable. I don't like that word, but I think here it is okay. It should be more desirable in a positive sense. So designer basically, no matter what designer you are, your duty basically is to make this dream come true for people and make a thing or a graphic more desirable. Yes.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yes.
So how can we improve ourselves as a designer?
Improve. Hello? Hello? Can you repeat the question? You said, how can we improve?
Sir, my question was.
Yeah. Yeah, improve yourself. If that is the question, there is only one way. I would say observe. As I said, whenever you see, you will find problems will come to you. If you can recognize the problem, you are a good designer. You see, recognizing the problem, as Einstein, my favorite scientist, says, that recognizing the problem itself is half the solution, if you recognize it properly. If you have a fever and if you know that is malarial fever, actually it is difficult. It is not difficult to find a solution. But if you have a fever and you don't know what it is, then you have a problem. It is just like that. A good designer identifies, and this comes through very simple thing of observing. Everybody observes, but some people see, some people don't see. See, looking and seeing, there is a lot of difference, as you all know. We look, but we don't see. And seeing comes through a very kind of sharp eye for observation. Everything starts with observation. And nowadays, another word which comes is the empathy. Empathy is identifying with the person who is doing it. Yeah. If I see a person suffering from every creative person is like that, he is a better creative person. If you see a person crying and he identifies with the crying, then he will be, that emotion is transferred into him, and then he can express it in whatever medium. It is a poetry, it is a film, whether it is a story, whatever it is, or whether it is a design. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Sure.
So, in the example that you mentioned about the hospital where a typography project is given, so say such as designers when we go out, right? So we're given opportunities like the typography, even though we can see the real problem in say the system of the hospital itself, but we don't really have a place to like attempt to get to solve that kind of problem. So the problem that we are allowed to solve sort of stays limited, or how do you get to solve the problem you want to solve?
Good question. Can I see you? Okay, I will answer it. Doesn't matter. I'm seeing only R there, but doesn't matter. You see, it is like this. Take the same question. You go to your hospital and you know only how to do signage, and you feel frustrated because what am I doing here? That is a good sign. First, you are identifying, you are empathizing with the people suffering. But you don't have the inputs. But if you know that you don't have the inputs, you will go and talk to, if I were in her position and if I were her guide, I would tell her, go to the people still and find out what are the problems, and go to the people who are supposed to do something about it and see where that could. You probably signage, a beautiful signage is not the solution for it. A beautiful solution could be going to the authorities of the hospital or going to the doctors, going to someone else, I don't know, district collector, whoever it is, and trying to get them do something. That is also design. You see, design is not always only artifact. A strategy also could be a solution. We have done it. We have umpteen examples. Chipko Andolan is actually, to me, you all know about Chipko Andolan, right? Everybody has heard it. It's very long back, but it's kind of one of the most phenomenal success stories. Chipko Andolan is just hugging the trees, and it is done here in Kerala. This is as a strategy. It is very good design. Design is not making things prettier. These people have thought of this strategy, and this strategical design is not anything new. Mahatma Gandhi has done it all his life. Taking a pinch of salt, it doesn't hurt anyone. But he did that as a kind of designed way, and the way he has done has shaken the whole British Empire. We all know that, right? So for me, Gandhi's act of picking up a pinch of salt, that salt satyagraha, what we know of now in history books, is a kind of act of design. Nobody acknowledged him as a designer, but there, what he has done is a strategy, which is a marvelous strategy, which worked. Immediately, India gone into the international kind of media. So, did that answer?
Hello? Yes, sir, it definitely did. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, my name is Vivek. I am actually a graphic designer.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the session, sir. I have a doubt in me for a long time, which I able to ask with anyone so far. I had asked this question within myself itself for a long time.
Sure. Tell me.
The question is simple. Sometimes we are given a certain amount of time, and we are asked to give a certain amount of productivity in that time, in sort of design. For example, take 8 hours and give me 10 designs or like that. So what goes in my mind is that, does the time deserves, or does the time decide design, or the design decides the time? Could you get me this, sir?
Yes.
The design actually deserves a time. Depends upon the concept and depends upon it deserves a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But that's what my question. Does the design decides the time which it should have to take, or the time which I have to decide how many designs have to be done in that particular time. How to take both into how to take or how to manage both.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm a kind of person who
Yeah.
who believes that if we take time also, the productivity, the creative should be worth for the time.
Yes.
If it takes 2 days, it should be worth for the 2 days. It doesn't mean that I took 2 days. Like that. I believe like that. If you take 1 week, that
Yes.
should be reflected on your design. The
Very good
design
question.
deserves that.
Very good question. We all professionals go through this. The time management is the most important thing. And many times, not many times, almost every time we find that the time given is not enough. There are ways of actually, to give you in one sentence answer is every design deserves the time. And it requires a time. That time has to be given for a good design to come out. But time is something which we don't have any control on it. So what happens many times is we have to kind of, I keep telling my students when they feel short of time, one is first see whether you can plug some holes in the in the loop. There is some leaking happening of the time management. That is one. So in professional, we have a course in professional management, design management. There, the time management is a very important component. That is one thing. But that's not all of it. Sometimes, however well you manage the time, you still are short of time. So what you have to do is, the best is the enemy of the good. There is a proverb. So I keep telling this to students, you stop at good and the rest you keep it for later. So because sometimes there is no time. If the patient is dying, a medicine has to be given, it has to be given. There is a saying that after the patient is dead, the medicine is of no use, however potent it is. So we have to learn to this is a kind of jugglery. You see, the client needs to be convinced of it. Many times the client puts the pressure on you. But if you are a B.V. Doshi or Charles Correa or something, you can bulldoze the client. The client will say, you can't say much. But if you're a small person like me or some other person, some upcoming young designer who has just started, what happens is the client will decide. And that is where the problem starts. So it needs a art of negotiating time. Time is also, so the client needs whether he really needs. Sometimes he really needs because he has to put the product, launch it during a, say, auto fair or some other fair that you can't, that's not in his hands. But sometimes he decides that I would like to take out the project and say June. You can see whether that is really realistic or not, whether you can influence them, whether you can convince them to your idea. You see, the one most important thing which design schools don't tell is the art of negotiation. This is the most important. I give example of Charles Eames. He was asked by the Los Angeles County mayor that to do something to all of the brief given to him is that do something, Mr. Eames, to stop the boys from peeing there. That's all. That's how many times your brief comes. But Charles Eames, being Charles Eames, he reinterpreted it. He interpreted and finally he came up with a project which is aquarium. Because children pee there because they have nothing else to do and their children are children. They want to be mischievous. But he said, if you can convert this energy into a positive thing, and who won't like fishes? So he suggested aquarium. And then in his typical way, when Charles Eames, projected this project report, he said, my report is this. He said, put the lights off, and he showed a film. So he said, this is my report. You see, when Charles Sims says it, so convincingly, the film is so convinced the mayor of the city. So this is the way. The art of negotiation is absolutely a must. All design schools, when they have this, they should have a special course in negotiation. One great person, God bless his soul, Mithar Bedi, used to be so good in this negotiation. He's a photographer, industrial photographer, probably the first industrial photographer in India. You must have heard his name. I have seen him working, and the clients literally would fall at his feet. Literally. What magic this man has got, I have no idea. So this is something which all designers have to learn. First, time management to arrest any loopholes in your time. Next is try to convince the client, for more design time. Third, if everything else fails, you cut your design to the acceptable level. I'm not saying you should never give away something which you are not happy with, ugly, because it will haunt you all your life. There is a saying that a doctor can hide his mistakes by burial. Somebody is dead, so he buried. There is an architect or a designer, the ugly building and the ugly product will be there always to remind you, see, you have done a bad job, you have done a bad job. So therefore, don't do a bad job. But what I say you should do is that it should be a minimum satisfaction. Don't always try for best. Of course, we all have this urge to give our best and, make our name, kind of shine and not go in dumps. But these are the three levels of addressing the time, which is not there. But design deserves a particular time. Yeah. And don't take shortcuts. I mean, I advise younger people particularly, don't take shortcuts of copying somebody else's work and all that. That is, kind of, very, very bad thing. It will not take you anywhere except criminal. So,
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. Ranjit here from Bombay.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to take a little kind of detour from these design solutions that you're talking about and the current conversation, and go back to what you started off by saying that we've taken the four-wall model of education and we have transported that to the current online situation purely because this is firefighting at its best at this point in time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Education primarily in our Indian context and the way historically, the way that we've been teaching and the way that we've been dealing with this whole learning environment has been primarily a hierarchical learning environment, where you have a teacher and a student, and it's supposed to be like a one-way, not really a one-way, but traditionally it's the teacher is the expert and the student is supposed to listen and follow. So having a system like that, how can design really help to develop a more collaborative or a more distributed, environment in learning where it's more about mentoring and less about teaching, so to say. And I mean teaching in the traditional form that we understand it as. Again, we talk about cross-discipline, learning. We talk about exposure of design students and to various different disciplines. But the reality of this, as all of us, I think, in the profession are aware, is that syllabi are what are defining what is being taught. And syllabi are basically, working towards a process of evaluation. It's working towards a process of what the student has learned by some sort of standardization of, evaluating the learning of a student. I mean, that's another topic for discussion because I have my own views on that. But how can design actually play a part in kind of changing this environment that we've historically, which is teacher comes in, there's a classroom, there is teaching that is happening through various different modes. We've taken on the internet, we've taken on online research, but frankly, it still is not, what we call the distributed collective or the distributed individual model. It still is a very much rooted hierarchical model of learning.
Okay. It's not there is no easy solution to this, but I agree with whatever you said. My own take on this is that a student would learn more outside the four walls than inside the four walls of the classroom, because the world is actually outside and the problems are outside, and the best teaching is no teaching. Yeah, if you can get what I mean. You see, yes. Yeah, the best teaching is no teaching. You leave the person and then you only facilitate. That's why we have the word guides rather than teachers. In design, there are no teachers, there are only guides. They see that you are on the right track and you are not falling. That's all. That's all they do. In design, actually, we all take our salaries, but we work very little. I mean, that's my dig at design teachers. But I think, that is said in a jest. They do a lot of work. But what happens is, the best teaching is just set the problem and see that the problem is taken well. See that the student is on the right track all the time. Just watch. It's like teaching cycle. No? Nobody learns cycle by somebody, all the time be with you and telling you what to do, what not to do. Yeah, just, keep your hand on the shoulder of the person who is cycling and say, I am there with you. But actually, after some time, you leave him free. He would fall, but let him fall. It doesn't matter. So same thing here. If I'm a good teacher, I'm teaching design. Design is all about breaking also boundaries. If I teach him in my own boundaries, then I'm still keeping him in my boundaries. So you should allow him to experiment, allow him to fail. And if he fails, don't say you're stupid, but say that, all right, you're the first success, the first step to success. You say that, encourage him and say what he can learn from the failure and make him go further. Otherwise, if there is no experiment, you see, design becomes stale, no? Not only design, any education. If I am teaching something which I taught yesteryear or 2 years ago, I have not grown myself, and I am also making the person learner stunted. So education is dynamic. It has to constantly keep changing. That's why textbooks are better not to be there in the design education, because the textbook will, by the time it is published and in the hands of the students, probably some things are already outdated. But it all looks very rosy when I say it, unless the teachers practice it. Do I, if I'm teaching the same, say I'm taking design thinking course, when I take today design thinking course, before going to the class, I would ask, am I teaching the same thing which I taught last year? If I'm teaching the same thing what I taught last year, there is something wrong with it. I'm actually a stale food I'm giving it to the child. So I should not be doing it every time. So I have to reinvent myself if I'm a good teacher. This is a good teacher, I'm saying, ideal teacher. But many times we have our problems. So sometimes we give the refrigerator food to, in the same way we give the, last year what I taught, the same exercise, I will give it to them. But I'm talking about the ideal teacher, and ideal teaching is that when you go to your class, you ask yourself, is it relevant? This is the last year's exercise. Is it relevant today? Last year, there is no COVID. This year, there is COVID. And the world has changed. It's not the same anymore. So are we kind of responding to the new situation? all the time we have to respond. Then the students also will raise their expectations to that. It's not, you see, I don't personally like the kind of examination kind of system. Of course, in design, there are no examinations. These are juries, fortunately. But even those juries can become a formulae if you are not careful about it. And the student is always trying to see what the jury is looking for. You see, unless we give this ability of judging to the student himself or herself, we not actually have done anything to the student. See, one way of telling design, one way of defining design is that design is all about questioning. See, I will go to the history, and Bauhaus, if you see, Bauhaus was closed. Why? Why? Because free thinking always frightens the authorities, which are actually authoritarian regimes. It was closed. Again, it started because ideas can never be killed. It started in wool. Again, it was closed. It's all political because we can't get out of politics. Design, I'm coming back to my point, is design is questioning all the time. Bob Gill, a famous Royal College of Art graphic designer, one of the most well-known graphic designers, he wrote a book called Forget All the Rules You Ever Learned About Graphic Design, in brackets, including the ones in this book. Beautifully said. See, we should know, are we breaking the rules or not? If you are not breaking the rules, then we are not fresh. We are stale. I keep telling you myself, I'm not young anymore, but still, if I'm giving the same thing what I have yesterday given to a student, then I'm actually not, I'm getting old. Yeah. Anybody who does it is stuck up in time. I feel if you're a good teacher, you have to constantly try to see what is latest. And what is the latest in the sense, no, not in the sense of futurism or something, but in the sense, what is latest society, what is latest culture, what is latest economy, what is latest technology. How can we address that? Because we have to constantly address that. That's why when I said we are simply four walls education, we simply put it on the Zoom. That's to me is a kind of silly thing to do, but I have also done it myself because there is no time. There's no time to think. But if I have to really do on now, I think probably we all have to think. We have to think of how we can use this marvelous cyberspace education. Thinkers have to work on it. Educationists have to work on it. We can't leave it to just teachers. No, they have daily work to do. But the thinkers have to do. Ivan Illich, people like that who have thought of the whole system. That kind of thinking has to go on. And we have in design also there are great thinkers. Guy Bonsapi is another person I could recall. These people, if they think what way this new technology could be used to a different kind of education, we will come with a different kind of education suddenly. So that's like film has today come to maturity rather than planting the camera in front of a drama which keeps on happening. So now we are exploring that is the kind of comparison I give. We should now explore the cyberspace for new kind of education in design. And there is tremendous possibilities. I'm very excited about that space.
Hi, Berger. I'm sorry.
Hi.
I would like to, Mr. Good evening, sir.
I can't hear you. There is some problem with the line.
I've been wondering. Good evening, Mr. Ambar Agnihotri, 1994.
Oh, hi, Ambar.
How is that?
Tell me. I'm very well, thank you.
So like I think I can't really take design apart from my life because and a lot of times
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we cannot. I feel that I can't take a design out of my life because some things we are taught at a very academic level, but at some point in life, one has to take cognizance. Not only, I feel we get too cerebral in a sense of we take too much heed to reason. So, in such a case, what does one do? Does it make a complete?
No,
What makes
you have to tell me a little more because the line is really poor. I can't hear half of what you said.
Can you text as well, Mr. Ambar, sir?
Yeah, but it's not a question. It's more of a, perhaps it's more of a statement in the sense that I'm not designing or drawing a problem. I'm designing or drawing because I like to draw, and that's the only way I can be. And there are times when I would like to. I would like to have as much. I would like to just enjoy the process of drawing. So that's it is not. It's a process which happens every for a person. Because I remember, like from in my first year, I was told that you have to start sketching and you have to improve drawing, and that has somehow become a part of my life. And I feel without it, I feel ill at ease. But I don't think so. When the head doesn't work for a person, then what is the position or what is the place of heart that can play in being a more harmonious person or a more balanced human being?
Okay, I think I got it. It is like this: if you don't have to all the time have a client, have a purpose, have a function, have something to design. If you feel like design and that itself, keeps you happy, then you just design. So I give you a simile that you want to sing. The one is that you want to sing in a kacheri or somewhere and earn some money and applause and all that. The other one is you want to sing, you just want to enjoy singing, so you just sing. So you don't have to wait for somebody to finance you, somebody to encourage you, somebody to do anything. But if you feel like it is like sketching, you yourself said, no, you just do it. I do it. My sketchbook is full of things which are never produced and never will be produced. But I do it because that gives me a satisfaction. If I see something, I would like to attend. Yeah, there is a problem. Let me solve it. It's a natural human urge. And that's it. It has been there since, the cave paintings. It's long time. Creativity, I feel, is human urge, Amber. So that, just for that, one should do it. Yeah. Not wait for the client or wait for any particular, audience or appreciation.
Hi, Balram. Can I ask you one thing?
Yes. Sure. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm seeing you.
There are a lot of very interesting questions coming up. Mine is a very basic one. With all the things happening across, from the very early, and while going through your papers that you had discussions with when you initiated faculty development program and other things, I saw one thing. There was always a space of being foolish, when you're designing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I nowadays I'm getting this feeling, and since you know that we are documenting design teachers across India, I got this feeling that neither in design teachers nor in designers, there's any space left to be foolish. So, what do you think? Are we missing Mullah Nasruddin in Indian design?
Absolutely, you said it. Why you think I've shown my old 50-year-old photographs today? Just to have some playfulness. I want people to see. So this kind of playfulness is very important. Charles Eames onwards, you see any great, they have this. You must have fun. That's the most important thing. You should enjoy. It's not a serious thing. If it is serious thing, you lost all the, you lost the game. Yeah. So absolutely, you made a good point. Design is basically fun. You must fun. You must enjoy it.
Sorry. Adding to it, one more thing. When we are getting the next set of Mulla Nasruddin design.
See, today I restrained myself, but actually, I always, when I start opening my mouth, one Mulla Nasruddin thing will come out. Maybe next time, because now I think the organizers are closing. But actually, I have something really wanted to say. If you want to listen, I will say it probably still. You want to listen?
Yeah. Definitely, any day. Please do.
You see, many times we... there is a problem is the way you look at it. So once Mulla Nasruddin had gone out with his family at night to see a performance, something to enjoy. And during that time, some thieves have come, got into his house, and they couldn't find much because he's a poor man. So in frustration, they actually burnt up his house. The whole house is burnt. It is a hut. When Mulla Nasruddin and his family came back, they saw it's all ashes. So his wife started crying and the children started crying. But Nasruddin was very happy. He was jumping with joy all over. He said, no, his wife said, are you mad? The house is gone, everything is gone. So he laughed and said, you foolish woman, imagine we are not inside the house when they burned the house. What would have happened if you have burnt the house when we are inside it? So aren't you happy we are not inside? So this is how it is. How you look at a situation in a positive manner. Whether it is COVID, whether many people are giving examples today, COVID is in everybody's mind so much. But this is how you make better of a situation. This is the way you look at a situation from in a positive angle. Everything is a positive side. Yes, Deepti?
Yes, sir. I had a question.
Yes, sure.
So in today's scenario where there's a lot of focus and, conversations about healthcare workers and sustainability and self-sufficiency, has there been any event in the last 50 years in your experience where the focus has been about design as in designers? Because we did study about a lot of designers, but then I'm not sure whether these kind of important innovations in design actually was known to the general public, or has there been something like that?
In India or in the worldwide?
Yeah, in the world, in India also. I'm just curious to know whether there's something like this happened where the focus was on designers creating a solution for something like a societal problem.
Yeah, the answer is not a simple one, but in India it has not happened. In spite of all our so many years of existence, in India, I must say it's negative. But in other countries, in some countries it has happened. In Japan, in Italy, in some Germany, some other countries it has happened. They have given much more importance to it. But in India, no, I don't think it happened. In some countries where it happened, it's progressed very well. Yeah. Korea is another example. So it varied in the world. It varies.
Can you share one example of, you mentioned Korea, Italy, and Japan, at least one thing, so we understand what happened that time?
Italy, I will tell you, Italy is a small country, but you see, they have a Ministry of Design, I was told. Ministry of Design. In India, we don't even have a commission for design. See, this is what. That is one example. So you can see where Italian products, or you could see anywhere. You refer any design book, you will see Italian products there. Whether you agree with them or not doesn't matter. But they're working, they're experimenting. They're, the spirit of fun actually started in Italy, because they don't make very serious things like some other country like Germany. But it is their culture. It is you have a national culture. So it comes in. So Italy has got it. Italians are known for their form, known for their aesthetics.
So can I ask one more thing connected to what you said just now?
Yes.
It's about should be a national culture, as we discussed.
Yes.
So what are the ways to bring that culture? Because what we see now, I mean, not going against anybody, I totally support Made in India, DP, everybody changing their DP and all those things. But do we really think this is something which is very good on a level 1, awareness among the people? But mostly as we see, and not that much of experience, but mostly as we're seeing, we end up, on level 1 itself always. The level 2, level 3 is, participating with the government, or having our voice heard. Somebody sitting there at top, practicing policy making for designers, or designers working along with government, which is rare. So, what are the steps that you think we should go?
Yeah, since you mentioned Made in India, I would question why there is no design in India. Why there is, these questions come to me. When we produce, I was told, something like 5 lakhs of scientists and engineers in the country. The designers are very minuscule numbers compared to that. Maybe we produce few thousands. That also is not a big number. So there are many reasons for this. But the thing is, I think still in the national plans, design doesn't figure out. Design is not seen as good as textiles, or as good as medicine, or as good as engineering, as good as anything else. Unless we see it, design as a contributor to society and economy, and it is, which I believe it is. But we have not, I think, I blame ourselves because we are small and our voice is not heard. Probably it's not loud enough to make the government take it seriously. There is a commission for the disabled people, but there is no commission for design. So there is not even a commission. So design is made one subservient to commerce. So as long as we do that, there will not be enough. Some prime ministers have kind of realized it, and they have given, kind of, better word. But some haven't given. But I don't want to get into the politics. I don't want to make any comment at all. But the thing is, the governmental support is not there for design. That's also because design is young. They say architecture is the mother of all arts. So it is there since very, very long. But design, unfortunately, it doesn't enjoy that. And so we don't have that kind of clout to have the design come into the national plans. So planning commission, it should be in the plans of the policies of the country. Leave alone reaching to Italy, where you have a ministry of design. We talked about in our earlier talks with Ashok Chatterjee and many others that how can we, my good old teacher, Kumar Vyas, how to bring design to the primary schools. Actually, that is where the creativity is. Now it's not happened because primary school education itself is in a big mess nowadays. We're not even able to sort out that. Before even primary schools, we should sort out the literacy issue itself. The country is not yet fully literate except the Kerala state. That's up to them. So, I mean, we have basic issues haven't yet sorted out in India, unfortunately, after so many years of independence. So, where is design? Design comes right at the end because the perception of design, thanks to fashion design and all that, which are very, very prominent, they think this is something we can postpone it. The attitude of people is, it is not as good as, say, for example, today, thanks to Corona, medicine is so important. Yeah, but design is not. Teaching is not. My friend, Gopinath Rao sent me a forwarded a message which says that in the essentials of list, this education doesn't figure anywhere, and the comment reads that, oh God, so many years of my life has been wasted in doing non-essential things. So education has been given that kind of priority. I'm not criticizing anything else, but in a fun way, we are saying that the importance we give to education, the importance we give to design is not enough. That's what I'm saying. It's not enough. It's not actually, even a minuscule of what is needed.
Dr. Balram.
Yes.
I was this straight kind of a convict, kind of a evolving sort of idea about.
Amber, your mic has some problem. I'm not able to hear half of it.
First of all, when we're talking about culture, I didn't think India can fall into one particular national culture or a expression of design, because in that respect we might just only classify India into what on the basis of opulence, on the basis of what the opulence where we are, and apart from that, and then you actually and I also feel that design is also in a way a life skill. It's a life skill, and it's that when you were talking about curriculum in the education, the primary school, that's where it can become a source of. That's the place where children's mind can be molded into.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely, but it's not happening. Yeah. That's where, I mean, we have no say.
And that's where it makes sense to us here in India or any third world country, where the masses, most of the people are people who don't have anything. So how to design? Where does it begin? And fortunately, they have some very enlightened people like Mr. Gupta from IIM, who are documenting the traditional indigenous models for.
Professor Anil Gupta, Srishti.
Yes. And I'm associated with him, and Anil Gupta is a very good friend of mine. Still keeps in touch. That National Innovation Foundation. You see, the problem with National Innovation Foundation is the very point where design has to take over. There is no designer to take it. You see, innovation. After innovation, the next thing to do is the design, which will take this innovation to people. That is where Mr. Anil Gupta is, struggling. Many times he shared with me, but that is where his problem is, because he needs funds for that, and no corporation or no business house, no industry is coming forward to do that, because there is a lot of investment. he has got a whole, lot of innovations with him. They're all very good. But he's not able to take anything. We can't say today that NIF has progressed and done design. The design help is the one which is badly needing it. If any people, he keeps on telling me, please send some designers to NIF. I'm not able to send them because there are so very few we produce in the country. That is a big problem.
That is, can you? I like to add. Yeah, there's one more thing I like to add, sir. And
yeah,
2 to 5 years I've seen all over where I live. I've seen how common man has tried to solve the problem of sanitation or cleanliness in the cities by his own resourcefulness. Sometimes they have used pieces of thermocol boxes that he has turned them into garbage bins. He has used old paints, some plastic boxes, and he's cleaning it himself. He's up to his own resources. He's keeping his space around where he lives, where he does his business. He's keeping it clean. Unfortunately, but this is sort of a lot of conflict with the organized process or a government, where probably government will come in, and where we don't know a stainless steel garbage bin, and then there's green one, there's blue one, and at the same time, there's a lot of others using whatever they can put their hands on. And I guess where we are, we claim to be design students and art students, and we claim to be sensitive. We will just look. I just feel that we'll keep on. I think we think very differently from the people who really slog it out on this. If we look at for their resourcefulness, we look at them for their inventiveness, for the sense of economy they have in themselves. No, they beat us follow.
Who knows the problem better than the people who use it themselves? So therefore, they have actually the right problem perception. All that they need is the idea how to make that into an idea, into a kind of plausible, producible solution. So that is where the gap is, and that is where the bridge has to be built. That's not happening. That's not happening. And Professor Anil Gupta is doing a fantastic job, but he is going from door to door and trying to, ask people to build the bridges, because unfortunately the commercial world sees that there is no money in it, so therefore people don't come forward. And this is where the government can come in, because government only can do a non-profitable thing. Corporations, they have their business, so they account books have to show balance.
बलराम, आपको क्या लगता है मोदी जी सुनेंगे?
Sorry?
तो आपको क्या लगता है मोदी जी सुनेंगे अपनी बात?
I hope he will listen. I don't know. I'd be happy if he listens. Anybody, you see, I have, I think the design is neglected for a long time. For somebody to listen.
No, I think with these things happening right now, with so many of webinars, and then, I think we have two people right now with like Hemant and Amit from ADI right now. So there is a resurgence in a lot of gathering and a lot of discussions between the designers to take things ahead. I think things look very hopeful now. So we need you to lead us. So do that.
Yeah. Let's move forward. On that positive note, let us kind of, go ahead and hope something good will come out of this meeting.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, Amit.
No, Ishan is making a point. There are a lot of webinars and there's a lot of design activity and thinking going on. One just hope that it gets enough steam to reach the right levels, because it's those movers who are going to actually make changes. We are all the supporting people, definitely, but they have to understand that design can play a major role in various places in this situation. And if that understanding comes, it'll be fantastic.
और अगर कुछ ज्यादा नहीं तो कम से कम ये तो हो रहा है कि हमको डिजाइनर्स की शक्लें पता चल रही हैं, अपनी फैमिली जो बोलते हैं इंडियन डिजाइन फैमिली, कम से कम शक्लें पता चल रही हैं कि लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं, क्या शेयर कर रहे हैं. सो आई एम थैंकफुल टू हेमंत एंड अमित बोथ टू ऑर्गेनाइज दीज थिंग्स. अदरवाइज नाम रहता है हर जगह, लेकिन हमें पता खुद नहीं रहता कि हमारे इंडियन डिजाइन फैमिली में कौन कहाँ क्या कर रहा है. So now, at least with this webinar, I see Murli nicely, Ranjit is there, at least, Sankara is here, Deepthi is here. At least with this, I know the faces of my family. Yeah? So this is also really important.
Very good. So that
thank
is
you for this
positive.
opportunity.
Yeah.
I just had one observation which I wanted to add to what Ishan said, and it's quite exciting to look at people at least considering building that ecosystem and the culture of art, creativity, design, whatever you want to call it. I mean, these are, as you said rightly, these are the non-essential activities that have been categorized. I've been a very strong proponent, and I still very strongly believe, much to the annoyance of a lot of administrators in education, that the incubation model is the model of the future. I believe that waiting for governments and waiting for the powers to wake up and take notice of practically an industry that is non-existent in their balance sheets is going to be highly unrealistic. I think the fraternity has to step up to the plate and bear the burden of I would say exposure, bear the burden of raising the visibility of the community in the eyes of people at large. And I think the trick over there, I may be sounding very immature here, but I believe the trick over there is to somehow get the incubation model firmly kind of established in educational institutions. Of course, the nature of educational institutions is going to definitely change with the current scenario, and I don't think that we are ever going to go back to the old model. But having said that, I think even in places where there are incubation models, somewhere down the line, we tend to make the mistake of weighing the commercial aspects into those models, which ultimately spell the death blow. Because what we are trying to do is that, okay, let's put an incubation model, but somehow it has to be commercially sustainable. And I don't think any innovation or any new invention is ever going to come into play, or has ever come into play, where people have been thinking about the commercial viability of those things when they've been thinking about it. I mean, the commercial viability comes in later. It's the usability, the feasibility, the actual importance of that element in daily life that determines whether it's going to be actually successful or not. So I think one, philanthropy has to play a very big part in this. People who are interested, who understand what design actually means, what creative arts actually mean, have to somehow be enticed by the fraternity to come and play an active role. I think education institutions have to take incubation very seriously. They have to front end the incubation of their students and not make it a case of, kind of patting your own back and saying that, look, we did this or we did that. I think the end result should always be, what is the next big idea that you have produced? And is this idea, good enough to be backed by people across the fraternity? I think collaboration between education institutions also is something that we don't see. We should see a lot of that happening, because there are some brilliant minds in the creative spaces across the country. But somewhere down the line, we kind of tend to miss the bus when it comes to bringing people together. I mean, look at the collection of people here. I mean, how many times, I don't know, besides, I think, Professor, you and Bhumia here, I've not seen anybody else, and vice versa. So I think it's up to the fraternity to somewhere down the line, wake up and say, enough of waiting, enough of thinking somebody's going to come and help us. We are too small in the ecosystem to hope for help, to wait for help. I think the important part is that we have to roll up our sleeves and say, let's get this going. And if that means more webinars, if that means inter-college, inter-school, inter-educational, collaborations, if that means, small power groups getting together to just brainstorm and see how can we build this culture, how can we take this culture forward. If that means getting cross-discipline, involvement and interaction, so be it. I mean, that's, I think, in essence, I think this is what we are talking about in terms of design, right? We're trying to design a solution for the ecosystem.
Yes, yes. I hope something good comes out of it. That's our effort.
So thanks, Ishan, for bringing us in. And so what we are doing, I think this social distancing thing, I think it's physical distancing, but socially we are coming together through this online media. I think it's helping a lot, and we are bringing people together. And as you were saying, yesterday we had a webinar where most of the people said business and finance should be taught to us at a design school. So once that happens, I think people will be able to take their ideas further. And as you're rightly saying, incubation and how to take the idea to market, those things will be much more clearer. Like the startup industry and other industries helping the startups. Similarly, I think we should be able to help designers.
I think an important part that that was raised by Amber was that I draw because I like to draw. I mean,
right.
So how is it really relevant for me? Do I need to have a product, or do I need to have an end solution I'm trying to work to? I mean, all due respect to that, completely appreciate the sentiment where it's coming from. But I've been teaching, and Professor Balram knows that I came and talked design management to his students. And I have a fundamental issue with a lot of design school curricula, which somehow tends to make commercial a dirty word. They somehow tend to look at, if you're talking about money, and if you're talking about selling designs, if you're talking about selling art, then no, that's not what we want to talk about.
So that's what I call empathy with business, not only with user.
Absolutely. I mean, creating art is one aspect. Managing art is another important aspect, and selling art and having the ability to sell your art is an equally important aspect. So it's I think a culmination of all these three things, which is management, finance, and the art by itself. I mean, all of these are aspects of art. I mean, business is also an aspect of art. So I think somewhere we have to start getting off this high horse of saying art for art's sake. I've had some brilliant artists, swear by this, paradigm that, art should be for art's sake. Yeah, well, if you want to be a hermit and you want to live in the Himalayas for the rest of your life, go ahead, be an artist for art's sake. But when you have kitchen fires to run, when you have families to take care of, when you have ecosystems to build, when you have community movements to start, I think commercials have to be there right at the top, just as anything else has to be there.
आप देख रहे हैं कितनी प्रॉब्लम है यहाँ पे आपको वीकली डेली आना पड़ेगा
I'm sorry
I'm saying I'm telling Balram आप देख रहे हैं कितनी प्रॉब्लम है यहाँ पे
Yes.
There is another letter from the government that has come. For all duration of extension, Balram will be online with us.
Yeah, that is well said.
Okay. I want to quickly add to what Ranjit actually said. There was actually a conference organized by Charles Correa Foundation, in which they had the title 2 days conference was a beautiful city and dirty place, something like that. So it talked about how city level problems were being addressed by architects. But the beauty of the whole seminar, the 3-day workshop, was where they showcased solutions designed with the government. They also showcased design, architects working on community level projects without the government's intervention or recommendation, but they solved the problem. But I think this will be a little harder to get for designers, because architects do know that they did have something, to provide as very tangible form of solution. But I think for designers, little hard to get, little hard for the community to go and approach a designer. But this was a very nice thing to say. If you want to do it, actually get it done. You don't have to wait for the government like how Balram sir said, like if you want to draw, you just keep on drawing. You don't have to wait for the right moment, the right space for you to start drawing.
Well, I think if designers can't reach the government directly, the designers should be reaching the architects. Jump onto the bandwagon of whoever has the leverage.
I'm sorry. I mean, okay, I've done that, but and I've worked with the topmost architects of the country, and there are issues because they themselves don't understand design half the time.
So I think we all had a discussion, but I think there are some more than like 70 youngsters here also, right? So I think we should let them have some questions with Balram. We get a lot of space. So I do not know why, but I'm doing the SCID job now. So the youngsters may take the lead and ask the questions. Balram is more of yours than ours, so it's like that. Okay, take it right.
So, anyone is having any other questions?
Ishan, can you?
Balram and all the senior people on the forum, I would like you to